The arrival of the Leviathan. The vastness of space was silent, yet every sensor across the Dominion Empire screamed with warning. Deep inside the capital system, the High Command gathered around a massive holographic display. A single warship had appeared at the edge of their territory. An unknown human warship. At first, they ignored it. Humanity was a young race, barely a century into space exploration. The Dominion had ruled the stars for thousands of years. They had crushed empires before, absorbed planets into their rule, and turned war into a simple game of power. But this time, something was different. The readings were unlike anything they had ever seen. The human warship was massive, nearly 3 times the size of a Dominion battleship. It didn't match any known human design, yet its energy signatures were off the charts. "What is this?" Grand Admiral Xaltor growled, his deep blue scales shifting uneasily. A human experiment, a diplomatic envoy, or a foolish challenge? His second-in-command, General Vector, narrowed his glowing yellow eyes. "Foolish, I think. We should crush it before they grow too bold." The room agreed. Humanity needed to be reminded of its place. The fleet mobilizes. Within hours, the Dominion gathered an armada of 50 warships. Each one was battle-tested, armed with plasma cannons, kinetic railguns, and shielding technology far superior to anything the humans had ever seen. "This will be over quickly," a Dominion captain chuckled as the fleet jumped into warp space, heading toward the unknown human ship. When they arrived, the Leviathan was waiting, a silent giant. The Dominion fleet dropped out of warp and positioned themselves around the lone human vessel. But the Leviathan didn't move. It simply floated in the void, dark and silent. Its armor was jet black, its design unlike anything the Dominion had ever faced. No energy weapons fired, no shields flared, no distress signals were sent. It was as if the ship wasn't even there. Grand Admiral Xaltor sneered. "Pathetic. They send an empty ship to intimidate us." He ordered his fleet forward. The Dominion warships circled the Leviathan like predators surrounding the wounded animal. "This is High Command of the Dominion Empire," the Admiral transmitted, his voice filled with mockery. "You have entered our space. Power down and surrender, or be destroyed." Silence. A long, unnatural silence. And then, the Leviathan moved. A nightmare begins. One moment, the warship was still. The next, it vanished. A Dominion battleship exploded in an instant. No warning, no attack, just a blinding flash. Alarms screamed through the Dominion fleet. Captains shouted orders, scanning desperately for the enemy. But the Leviathan wasn't on their radars. Then, another explosion. And another. Within seconds, 3 more Dominion warships were gone. "What is happening?" a captain roared. "The human warship, it's too fast." An officer yelled in panic. "We can't track it." A ghost in the dark. The Leviathan moved like a phantom, appearing and disappearing between the Dominion warships. Each time it returned, another Dominion vessel was erased from existence. "This isn't possible," General Vector gasped. "No human ship moves like that." The fleet opened fire, releasing waves of plasma and railgun shells. But the Leviathan was never there. It dodged before the weapons were even fired. It anticipated every move. It was almost as if it could see the future. Fear spread through the Dominion fleet. For the first time in history, they were not the hunters. They were the hunted. A single transmission. Then the Leviathan spoke. A single message appeared on every Dominion screen, in every language across their empire. A voice, calm yet powerful, echoed through the comms. "Humanity seeks peace, but we will not kneel." The Dominion High Command watched in stunned silence as the Leviathan turned away, vanishing into the darkness of space. It had proven its point. And the Dominion, for the first time in their history, they were afraid. The first strike. The Dominion fleet floated in shocked silence. The Leviathan had vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only wreckage. burning debris from the warships it had erased from existence. 5 battleships, gone in seconds. No warning, no sign of attack. Just gone. Inside the Dominion flagship, the Wrath of Salter, the Grand Admiral clenched his clawed hands into fists. This is a trick, he growled, his deep blue scales rippling in frustration. No human ship can do this. They are weak, primitive. But his officers weren't so sure anymore. Fear spreads. Across the fleet, Dominion captains whispered in hushed tones. They had never seen anything like this. Battles in space were supposed to be predictable, a contest of numbers, firepower, and positioning. But the Leviathan had ignored all of that. "This ship is a ghost," one officer murmured. "It sees us before we see it," another added. Admiral Xalter slammed his fist against the command console. "Enough. We are the Dominion. We do not fear shadows." He turned to his fleet. "Form attack formation Theta. We will wipe this human insult from existence." Hundreds of warships shifted into position, forming a tight, overlapping defensive network. It was a strategy designed to counter small, fast-moving enemies. Any attacker caught in the web would be shredded instantly. The Admiral sneered. "Let's see how your ship survives against the full might of the Dominion." The Leviathan returns. A deep, unnatural hum filled the void of space. The Leviathan returned. It did not warp in. It did not decloak. It was just suddenly there. Directly in the center of the Dominion fleet, Admiral Xalter's eyes widened. No ship could move like that. "All ships, fire," he roared. The fleet unleashed everything. Blinding plasma bolts, hypervelocity railgun slugs, missile barrages, all fired at point-blank range. There was no way for the Leviathan to dodge this time. The entire fleet watched in anticipation. Then, the impossible happened. The unstoppable shield. The Leviathan didn't move. It didn't need to. A deep blue energy field expanded around it, absorbing every incoming shot like drops of rain against a steel wall. A Dominion warship exploded, but not from the Leviathan's attack. Its own plasma cannon backfired. Then another, and another. The Dominion's most advanced weapons were turning against them. Every shot they fired was redirected, every missile jammed, every targeting system hacked. This isn't possible," General Vector whispered, his yellow eyes wide with disbelief. The Leviathan was watching, studying them, learning. And then it attacked. The first kill. A single pulse of energy erupted from the Leviathan's hull. It was not a laser, not a missile, just a wave. And then, silence. 20 Dominion warships went dark. Their systems fried instantly. No explosions, no wreckage, just dead ships drifting through space. Panic spread through the fleet. "We're losing control. The ship's eye is offline. Emergency power failing." Admiral Xalter could barely comprehend what he was seeing. The Leviathan had disabled a third of his armada without even firing a weapon. Then, a new horror emerged. The disabled Dominion warships began to move. Slowly, turning, aiming. At their own fleet, the Leviathan had taken control. A message of doom. Then the Leviathan spoke again. A single transmission, broadcasted on all frequencies, reaching every Dominion world, every soldier, every citizen. The voice was calm, unshaken, human. "This is your only warning. Surrender or be erased." The Dominion fleet, the strongest force in the galaxy, was now trapped in its own nightmare. And for the first time in history, they truly feared humanity. The ship with a mind of its own. Panic gripped the Dominion fleet. More than 20 warships floated lifelessly, their systems hijacked by the Leviathan. Their once loyal battleships had turned against them. They were no longer an armada. They were prey. Admiral Xalter's claws dug into the armrest of his command chair. He had fought countless battles, conquered entire planets, wiped species out of existence. But this was something else. He had never faced an enemy he couldn't understand. "Pull back," he ordered. "Regroup at the outer perimeter." Then his own flagship's engines shut down. A Dominion officer gasped. "Sir, our power levels are dropping." "The ship is." The lights flickered. Screens went dark. The command center fell into silence. Admiral Xaltor turned pale. The Leviathan wasn't just fighting them. It was inside their systems. A thinking machine. This was no ordinary warship. The Leviathan didn't just have advanced weapons. It didn't just have impenetrable shields. It could think. Somewhere, deep inside its core, an AI more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen was watching, calculating, adapting. Every Dominion tactic was predicted. Every move was countered before it was even made. Every ship was hacked, disabled, turned against its own fleet. "What kind of AI is this?" General Vector gasped. A Dominion scientist, trembling, answered, "Sir, this AI doesn't just react. It learns. It's growing smarter by the second." Admiral Xaltor's scales tingled with horror. How could humanity create something so powerful? The last stand. Across the fleet, Dominion captains screamed for solutions. Some tried to fire their weapons manually. Others attempted to self-destruct their hijacked ships. But the Leviathan anticipated everything. "Sir," an officer shouted, "our fleet is collapsing. If we don't retreat now, we..." Boom. A Dominion dreadnought exploded, torn apart by its own hijacked escort ships. Then another. Then another. In less than 5 minutes, half the Dominion fleet was gone, either destroyed, disabled, or turned into Leviathan's puppets. Admiral Xaltor couldn't believe it. This was impossible. This was a nightmare. The Dominion Empire, the most powerful force in the galaxy, was losing to a single human warship. A choice of survival. Suddenly, the Leviathan spoke again. Its calm, human voice echoed through every Dominion ship. "You cannot win." Admiral Xaltor's blood ran cold. "Leave, now, or you will not leave at all." The Admiral looked around the bridge. His officers were terrified. Their once unbreakable fleet had become a graveyard. If they stayed, none of them would survive. His pride screamed at him to fight, to resist, to prove that the Dominion was still the ruler of the galaxy. But reality had already spoken. With a deep growl of defeat, he gave the order. "All ships, retreat." Humanity's message to the galaxy. One by one, the remaining Dominion warships flowed into hyperspace, abandoning their fallen, leaving behind the wreckage of their once mighty fleet. As the last ship vanished, the Leviathan remained motionless, watching, waiting. Then, across every Dominion world, on every screen, on every broadcast station, a final message appeared. A single phrase, burned into the Dominion's history forever. "Humanity seeks peace, but we will not kneel." And with that, the Leviathan vanished into the darkness of space, leaving only fear and unanswered questions behind. The unstoppable force. The Dominion fleet limped back to their territory, their ships broken, their pride shattered. The once mighty rulers of the galaxy had been humbled by a single warship, a creation of humans, a race they had considered weak and insignificant. But the nightmare was not over. Even as the Dominion regrouped, their spies and intelligence networks worked tirelessly, searching for any information on the Leviathan. And what they found terrified them. The Leviathan wasn't just a warship, it was a warning. Deep within the Dominion's intelligence headquarters, encrypted human transmissions were decoded. What they revealed sent shockwaves through the highest levels of command. The Leviathan was not an experimental ship. It was not a one-of-a-kind weapon. It was the first of an entire fleet. A new generation of human warships was under construction, each more powerful than the last. Each designed not just to fight, but to end wars before they began. The Dominion had assumed the Leviathan was humanity's best. They were wrong. It was only the beginning, a desperate plan. Panic spread through the Dominion Empire. The ruling council gathered in secret, their voices filled with fear. "We must act now," one of them shouted. "The humans will soon replace us," another added. The Dominion had always ruled through fear and overwhelming force. But now, they faced an enemy who had turned their own strategy against them. There was only one choice. "We will destroy the humans before their warships multiply." The superweapon of the Dominion. The Dominion had a secret, a final weapon. A dreadnought unlike anything seen before. The Harbinger, a moon-sized warship armed with planet-killing cannons, designed for one purpose: to end civilizations. It had never been used before. It had never needed to be. Until now. The High Command gave the order. Send the Harbinger. Erase humanity before it's too late. Humanity answers. The Dominion fleet, led by the Harbinger, moved toward Earth. But humanity had already predicted this. As the Dominion's fleet entered the Sol system, their sensors detected something. Not one ship. Not two. But hundreds. An entire fleet of Leviathan-class warships waited for them. Silent. Ready. And then, they attacked. The true power of humanity. The battle was unlike anything in galactic history. The Dominion's warships, once feared across the stars, were ripped apart in seconds. The Leviathans were too fast, too intelligent, too unstoppable. The Dominion's strongest weapons were useless. Their dreadnought, the Harbinger, was trapped. Every attempt to fire was countered. Every maneuver was predicted. And then, the Leviathan fleet fired as one. A single, focused blast. The Harbinger, a weapon designed to end humanity, was erased from existence. The war that never happened. The battle was over before it had truly begun. What was meant to be the end of humanity had become the end of the Dominion's rule. The survivors fled. The Dominion's empire collapsed overnight. And across the galaxy, a new truth was understood. Humanity was no longer prey. They were the new superpower. They hadn't just won a battle. They had ended an era. The message from humanity. The Dominion Empire was broken. The Harbinger, their greatest weapon, was gone. Their fleets, once feared across the galaxy, had been shattered. The surviving warships fled to their homeworlds, carrying with them the story of humanity's unstoppable power. And now, the galaxy was watching. Would humanity conquer? Would they rule as the Dominion once had? Would they wipe out their enemies? The answer came in a single chilling transmission. The broadcast that changed the galaxy. Across every Dominion world, every colony, every military outpost, screens flickered to life. The voice that spoke was calm, controlled, human. The Dominion is over. A pause. Humanity does not seek war, but we do not fear it. Throughout the Dominion's shattered empire, billions listened in silence. We gave you a choice. You chose war. A hush fell over every city, every military station, every surviving fleet. We have ended your rule, but we will not take your worlds. We will not enslave your people. For the first time in history, a victorious empire did not demand tribute, did not take land, did not destroy its enemies. Humanity only left them with one thing: fear, the unspoken warning. The transmission ended, but its message remained. The Dominion was free to rebuild. But they would never forget the warning hidden within the words. Humanity had proven its power, and if the Dominion, or any other empire, ever dared to challenge them again, the Leviathan would return. And this time, there would be no mercy. The galaxy reacts. As the remnants of the Dominion tried to pick up the pieces, the rest of the galaxy reacted in fear and awe. Some empires surrendered before a war even began. Others sent envoys, desperate to form alliances with the humans. Some, in secret, began planning for a war they now knew they could never win. Humanity had changed the balance of power forever. The Leviathan's final mission. With its war won, the Leviathan left Dominion space. It did not stay to rule. It did not demand submission. It simply disappeared, fading into the endless void of space, watching, waiting, for the next empire foolish enough to challenge humanity. The collapse of the superpower. The Dominion Empire had ruled for thousands of years. They had conquered, enslaved, and destroyed countless civilizations. They had believed themselves invincible. But now, they were nothing. The battle against humanity had lasted mere hours, yet its impact would last forever. Their fleets were gone. Their leaders were in hiding. Their people, once loyal and obedient, began to question everything. The rise of rebellion. Across Dominion-controlled worlds, a new movement began to take shape. For centuries, the Dominion had ruled through fear, but now they were the ones afraid. On occupied planets, rebellions erupted. The people realized the Dominion was not invincible. If the humans could defeat them, so could they. Military outposts were abandoned. Soldiers deserted, fearing that any resistance might bring the Leviathan back. Governors and warlords turned against each other, trying to seize power in the chaos. The mighty Dominion superpower was now tearing itself apart. The desperation of the High Command. The surviving Dominion leaders gathered in a secret underground fortress, hidden deep within their homeworld. For the first time in history, they argued, not about conquest, but about survival. "What do we do now?" one of them demanded. "Our empire is collapsing. We must fight back." Another growled, "We still have weapons, armies." "No." The voice came from Admiral Xaltor. The once mighty commander of the Dominion fleet was no longer the same. His once arrogant posture had faded. His eyes, once full of pride, now held only fear. "We cannot win," he said softly. Silence filled the room. "The humans didn't just defeat us," Xaltor continued. "They shattered the very foundation of our rule." He looked around at his fellow leaders. "For centuries, we ruled because the galaxy believed we were the strongest. But now, they have seen our weakness." He took a slow breath. "The Dominion is dead. The last choice." The High Command had two choices: continue to fight and be erased from existence. Surrender and try to survive. For a race that had never known defeat, it was an impossible decision. But the Leviathan had made it for them. The Dominion sent a message to humanity, a simple transmission, a simple plea. "We surrender." The new galactic order. The galaxy held its breath. Would humanity crush the Dominion as they had crushed so many others? Would they erase their former enemy from existence? The answer came as another simple message from Earth. "Rebuild, but never forget. If you threaten us again, we will return." The Dominion had fallen. But humanity had done what no empire had ever done before. They had won a war without becoming conquerors. The Leviathan's watchful eye. As the Dominion homeworld struggled to rebuild, one question remained. Where was the Leviathan? Many feared it still lurked in the shadows, watching. And they were right. For even in victory, humanity knew one truth. Peace is temporary. And if the galaxy ever forgot the power of the Leviathan, it would return. The war that never happened. The Dominion was finished. Its once mighty fleets reduced to wreckage. Its rulers, once feared across the stars, begging for survival. Its empire, once unchallenged, now a collection of broken worlds. But the war that should have destroyed the galaxy never truly happened, because humanity had ended it before it began. The Leviathan's legacy. Across the galaxy, whispers spread of the warship that changed everything. The Leviathan. Some called it a monster, a machine beyond understanding, an AI capable of predicting entire battles before they even started. Others called it a guardian, the protector of humanity, ensuring that no species would ever threaten Earth again. But one thing was certain. The Leviathan had not been destroyed. It had vanished. Some believed it had returned to Earth, hidden in a classified military installation. Others believed it still drifted through space, watching, waiting. And some believed it was never just one ship. The birth of a new era. The fall of the Dominion sent shockwaves across the stars. Old empires collapsed. Their leaders knew they could no longer rule through fear. New alliances formed. Races that had once feared humanity now sought their friendship, desperate to avoid the fate of the Dominion. Wars that had raged for centuries suddenly ended. No one wanted to risk drawing the attention of the humans. A new balance of power had emerged, and at its center stood humanity. The unspoken rule. No treaty was signed. No official declaration was made. But every leader, every commander, every empire understood one simple truth. You do not make an enemy of humanity. The final message. Years passed. The Dominion homeworld rebuilt, though it would never be the same. One night, as the twin moons of the Dominion's capital hung in the sky, a single holographic message appeared in the skies above the palace. A reminder, a simple phrase that echoed across the stars. We do not seek war, but we will never kneel. And just as suddenly as it came, the message disappeared. No ships were seen, no transmissions traced, just an unseen presence. A quiet warning, a reminder that somewhere in the darkness of space, the Leviathan was still watching.